Okay, listen, I changed my shirt, but I'm pre-filming, so everything's an illusion. I'm not in the Illuminati, like, stop. Hello, my name is Andrew. Welcome to my channel. We are going to discuss some more books that I have read recently. So, earlier this year, I'm trying to look at like how far back we're going in my reading journey. I read this in February. Actually, I think February so far has been my best reading month out of the year, which is crazy because, well, I don't know if that's true. I didn't like verify that before I got on here. But the next few books that I read this year so far, number one is going to be Heartstoppper, Volume 3. So I have already read the first and the second. Obviously, this is a graphic novel series following Nick and Charlie, who I believe are from another book by Alice Oseman. And it is perfection. It is perfection. It's just zero critiques. I have no critiques. The art is very cute. They're very cute. There's a lot of important things discussed in Volume 3 specifically. I'm not going to tell you what happens. I don't want to tell you anything that happens. Just read it. I gave it 5 stars. I'm expecting to give all of the remaining graphic novels 5 stars. I will be shocked if I give them any less than 5 stars. I think I cried at Volume 3, but you'll see my thoughts on Volume 4 in a future video. You'll definitely see my thoughts on the future volumes in a future video, because I just read that like 2 nights ago. It's really, really good. 5 stars. Sorry, I don't have more to say. I just can't. I want to give you nothing. I'm going to give you absolutely nothing except that like it's about 2 guys and they're gay. Well, one of them is bi and one of them is gay, and they just talk to each other. Yep, that's it. All right. Then after that, I read a collection of short stories called Black Enough. There are multiple authors of this, and I wanted to read this because I thought, well, let me get a taste of several Black authors and see like who else's work I want to pick up. I'm going to tell you how many stories there are, and then I will tell you like my favorite. I gave it 4 stars. I enjoyed pretty much all of them. There was like a couple, maybe 3 stars, but there were a couple like 5 stars, so 4 stars. I feel like every book, if I'm not going to give the book 4 stars, I don't want to keep reading. Listen, you can hate read all day long, but you hate that book and you read it all the way through and you make sure you don't waste your money. You do that. I don't care. I have plenty of money. I have plenty of time. That's fine. I could hate read it, but no. I would much rather cry and emote emotions I haven't felt in years and give a book 5 stars. Like, I just would much rather spend my time doing that personally. Why was I talking about hate reading books? I don't know what that has to do with anything. There are 17 short stories in this collection, which is a bit excessive, I think. I haven't read many short story collections except for Cassandra Clare's short story collections, and I'm kind of curious how many there are. And I don't think those are ever more than like 10. I think 10 is like a good amount, because you know, a short story should really be like 30 pages. I think you can develop a story in 30 pages, which is funny because I just said in my last video that you couldn't develop a story in 97. I guess it just depends on the author and me and if we vibe or not. Overall, all the short stories have to deal with like, are you being Black enough? And I can't remember which story specifically, but there was one I really liked that said like, what does your birth certificate say? Does it say you're Black? Then you're Black enough. And you know, it's definitely good. I'm realizing this year too that like books about music, because who doesn't love music? When people say they don't like music, if I've ever met someone who said they don't like music, I just, so it's like, we will never connect on any level about anything, because music is one of the greatest parts of being a human being, in my opinion. So my favorites were, from what I remember, the title story called Black Enough. Black Nerd Problems was definitely up there for me, by Lamar Giles. I'm gonna have to check out the works of these other authors, and Samson and the Delilahs by Tochi Onyebuchi. That's one. I need to check out all those 3 authors' works for sure, because I need to read more Black authors, as we all should. I really liked the one, I think it was Samson and the Delilahs was the one that talked about like her love for System of a Down, and the Black Nerd Problems was all about how much he loved Star Wars and like a bunch of stuff like that. There was a lot that I really enjoyed out of this collection. I'm really glad I read it, and I need to check out other authors, because that was the whole reason why I read it. And there's just so many books to read. Okay, I'm sorry. So yeah, definitely recommend that. And then, you can kind of determine from the stories that you enjoy, like who else, like which authors you want to read more from. Obviously, like I don't know if I would consider that like process the best way to discover Black authors, because I think you might not like their short stories, but you could love like how they do a novel. I think that's possible. I know it's possible to like really enjoy short stories from somebody and then not enjoy their novels, or vice versa. So you never know. Moving on. The next book that I read, I have physically. This book right here, Cinder by Marissa Meyer, I think might be, I can't say this is my favorite. I would say this is probably my most surprising read of the year so far. I had no idea how I was going to feel about this. I tried to read this like when I first got it. I first got this like maybe 2 years ago, and I just like couldn't get into that for, I don't know, something about like the first page, it didn't like hit, I don't know. This was so good. It was just so fun and easy and lighthearted, and just, it was just so good. Like it was, I need to read this. I was worried because I feel like I read like a lot of like 2-star reviews for this by like really popular book reviewers have given this like 2 stars. And I was like, oh, okay, like they've read a lot, so like they're probably the experts. No, this is really good. And I don't know why I didn't realize that, because like I love Once Upon a Time. I love Doctor Who. Like this is nothing like Doctor Who. This is definitely more like Once Upon a Time. This is a sci-fi fairy tale mix. This is a retelling of Cinderella, which like we have seen so many retellings of Cinderella. Like we talk about beating a dead horse, okay? Like we have seen so many retellings of Cinderella, and yet I still found this so refreshing and so fun, and just, I liked the characters, I liked the plot, I just really enjoyed like the political arc of it, if you will, like the lunar people, and just, it was so good. And I will probably read all the books in the series and also read the side novellas, because this was some good fucking food. This was some good fucking food. It's about Cinderella. She's a cyborg. There's like whole new covers. And at first I was like, I don't know about that. But I do think the new covers do a better job of like encapsulating the story. So I might like sell this and switch to the new covers, or I'll just listen to them on audio, because I don't have to have a physical copy of every book I read. It's totally fine. But I really liked the audiobook. I wasn't sure about the narrator at first, but I think like her tone fits the story. So definitely recommend. I think these are worth picking up if you like fairy tale stuff, and if you like sci-fi stuff. I think this could be a hit for you. But I really like the original covers also, but I do think the new covers like are more fitting to the story. So, oh, she's also a mechanic. So like there's a lot of like, and she has like a, I think does she have a thing on her eye? Like a, what's that called? When there's like a, I don't know what the fuck it's called, but like this blurb says it's a mix between Cinderella, the Terminator, and Star Wars. Yeah. I mean, so if that sounds like your vibe, you should definitely read it for sure. Because yeah, I do think it's more of like Cinderella mixed with Star Wars versus like Cinderella mixed with Doctor Who. There's no time travel in here. I think that more books should put time travel in their book. I love time travel, but that's a whole nother topic. Yeah, I gave this 4 stars, but I actually kind of feel like it's not a 5-star, but it's like 4.5. Like I had such low expectations, which is how I should go into every book. I should go into every single book and expect to give it 2 stars, because then I'll give it 4 stars. Yeah, if only. I'm sure it's not how that works. The romance in here was also just cute. It was just cute as it was. I will read this. I will read the side novellas. I will read Renegades, but I want to, you know, work my way up to it, because I feel like Renegades is like even more hype. But I know some people love the Lunar Chronicles and like didn't love Renegades, but Renegades is like even more sci-fi from what I hear, like sci-fi dystopian, which this is kind of sci-fi dystopian also, because there's also like a plague. So I don't know. I think this might even make my top 10 of the year. And like, I've seen so many people say they wish they could like read it again for the first time. I don't know, man, there's just so much to love about the Lunar Chronicles. Like they're just so far, and I've only read the first book. So I am excited. I'm excited to be a Marissa Meyer stan. So definitely recommend this one if you like fairy tales and Star Wars. All right, following my most surprising in a good way book, we have what I'm gonna call this isn't my most disappointing actually, because I didn't expect to love this. I heard about this, I want to say through Murphy's channel. I know she talked about it. She loved it. She said she loved it more than she expected to. And me and her, I'm learning, probably don't have the most similar taste that I would have thought. I think her favorite genre is literary fiction, and I don't want to say I hate literary fiction, but I just really have a hard time connecting to what I have read in literary fiction so far. I'm just going to call it like that at this point. Literary fiction is just not my fave. So having said the book, okay, the next book I read, it's The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. And I have a hard time explaining even why I gave this one 3 stars. I'm glad I read it. I'm glad I know what happens in it. I'm glad I can talk about it with people. I can discuss it. I know like people in my personal life like love this book, so I feel bad that I wasn't my personal favorite. Because, you know, it's sad to me when people don't like my favorites, but like we just have to accept it. We just have to validate ourselves. We just have to validate ourselves and just know that it's still a favorite for me. This book has 1 million ratings. Wow. There was a really funny review by somebody about how this book is like a bunch of strong, beefy men that also cry in the corner. And that was kind of like how I felt about it. I just didn't connect with the characters. I didn't find the plot interesting, which is so weird to me because the plot is like these outsiders, like these people that are in a gang, and there's like the Soches and the Greases, and they're like fighting each other over like, why are they fighting? I guess because they just like, maybe that's it. I just didn't really like see a reason for like why they were fighting. Because from what I remember in the book, my reading comprehension is trash. But from what I remember, there was like, they just hated each other. They just hated each other. There was no like backstory to why they hated each other. There was no like, oh, like so-and-so did this to so-and-so to like kick off all these events. Like some other things I enjoy that have very clear reasons and history and like stories behind how things are what they are at the present moment. And I just didn't really feel that from the outsiders. I didn't feel as though there was like a good explanation for like why the Soches and the Grecias were at war. I didn't really find the characters to be that. I feel bad because as I'm discussing this, I feel like this is like maybe more of a 2-star read for me, but I just feel too evil doing that. Lots of people gave this book 5 stars that I'm friends with. So somebody I follow gave it 2 stars. So thanks, sis. I maybe would reread it at some point, you know. I gave it to my friend who like loves that book. So I'm glad he's got it now. Let's move the fuck on. All right. Let's talk about this one. Okay. So then the next book we're going to talk about is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, which I do also have that on my shelf. And here she is. And listen, all right, Rainbow Rowell, I know everything about her. Or I'm not everything. I don't know everything about her, but I know like how she's problematic and like what's happened with that other book. I think it's her most popular book, and I have no interest in reading said book. Like just the synopsis of that book, like I have no interest in reading that. But I have read this. I have also read Carry On, and you'll see my thoughts on that in a future video. Also, look at how many freaking books I have read. But I just, you know, like, this was cute. I gave this 4 stars. I actually really liked this. I'm not a girl in college with no friends. I've never even been sent away to college. So I didn't love this because of its relatableness to me. But this is about a girl named Kath who goes away to college, as I just said. And she's like obsessed with a certain really popular 7-book series. And writes fan fiction about it, and the fan fiction like is super popular, and like she has this whole thing with like her professor, and her professor is like, you can't like submit this article because it's literally just fan fiction and you're just like stealing another author's like characters. And like, it's fan fiction is just such a that in and of itself is just such an interesting like topic to be discussing, like fan fiction, what it means, if it's good, if it's bad. I'm not going to go into that right now. That's a whole nother video. But I did enjoy this book. If you don't know anything about Rainbow Rowell, maybe I'll leave a link in the description for you to check out like why she's problematic. I don't know. I gave it 4 stars. I really liked Kath as a character. I thought Kath was a great character. I thought the romance was a little weird, but still kind of made sense. Like the romance wasn't the strong part of this for me, but I did, like, we don't have, like, there's no girl on girl hate in here, which, you know, is good for YA. And like, there's good family relationships in here. I think this is like a genuinely decent book. So I did find this relatable in the sense of being really obsessed with fandom, because fandom is just fun. Like and there are multiple fandoms that I enjoy being a part of, and like that fandom and fan fiction, as I said a second ago, like it is very interesting. When I hear someone say that like a book is about like the experience of fandom or like what fandom is, that does interest me and I do want to read it. So you might see in future videos me discussing other books about fan fiction. Like I know I want to read Eliza and Her Monsters. I want to read Ship It, even though I'm aware like there are some serious issues with that book as well, like the actual book. I don't know anything about the author. I don't even know who wrote that book, but those are 2 other books that I haven't currently read them, but they're on my list. My list is just so long at this point. But all right, I would recommend this if you're okay with reading Rainbow Rowell's books. That's your decision. All right, that is going to be it for this video. So I will leave my Instagram, Goodreads, Twitter, all that will be linked in the description. I would love for you to follow me, message me, talk to me about any of your current reads, what you've read recently, what you've enjoyed. That's why I made the whole channel. I'll see you guys later. Bye.